paradrama tales.
They left for the big family trip. 4 cars, 17, people in one group, chat without me. I woke up to an empty house and silence so loud. It rang in my ears, no texts, no knocks, just the realization. They hadn't forgotten me, they had erased me on purpose. December 23rd. Started like any other winter morning, cold quiet still. But this quiet was different. It wasn't peaceful, it was hollow. I woke up to a house that felt evacuated. No footsteps, no dishes clinking in the kitchen, no giggles from the hallway where my cousins usually ran wild. Just absence. My first instinct was to think I'd overslept. Maybe they were outside loading the cars, maybe I missed the text. I checked my phone. Nothing, no messages, no missed calls. The living room was spotless, almost staged. A stray charging cable on the couch, 2 pine needles by the door. My suitcase from my last work trip was still in the hallway unopened. My wallet hadn't moved. My toothbrush was dry. I told myself maybe they'd left for gas or snacks. Maybe they'd come back. But as the minutes stretched, a lump settled in my throat. I called Mom. She picked up on the second ring. Too fast, like she was waiting for it. I asked, "Where is everyone?" There was a pause. That kind of long-loaded silence that tells you the answer before it's spoken. She said, "We thought you were in the van with your cousins." Her voice was soft, careful like she was stepping around broken glass. I didn't yell. I didn't ask why I wasn't on the group chat, why no one double-checked why I wasn't even a footnote in their plans. I said nothing, because the silence between us said everything. 17 people, 4 cars, a trip planned for months. And not one person noticed I wasn't there. Not one person texted to ask if I was running late. Not one seat saved. Not one blanket left folded on the couch. She mumbled something about Zach, Emma's boyfriend, maybe having said I was in another car. A miscommunication, she called it. But miscommunication doesn't explain how I helped pay for the Airbnb, how the reservation was on my card. So I hung up, not in anger, in understanding. For years I'd told myself I was part of this family. Just the quiet one, the dependable one. But this moment, it was the proof I didn't want proof that I wasn't forgotten. I was never meant to be included. 2 hours after that phone call with my mom, I got the real answer, not from her, not from anyone brave enough to tell me to my face. It came from Emma, my sister. She sent a screenshot. At first I thought it was for me. Then I saw the message right below the image. "He's really not here. OMG. Our plan worked. I wasn't supposed to see it. It was meant for Caitlin, her best friend, the one she shares everything with. What she sent by accident was a glimpse into the group chat. 17 names, 17 people, and not a single one was mine. Right under the pinned itinerary was her gloating, wide-eyed confirmation that I'd been successfully excluded. I stared at it, not shocked, but hollow. It clicked, of course. The questions no one asked, the seat no one saved, the lie she fed Mom, probably about how I had volunteered to cover the Airbnb. What they didn't expect was that the booking was under my name, my card, my money. $12,500 I had covered without hesitation, like I had every year before. "We'll pay you back," they always said. But they never did. And this year they didn't even pretend. So I did what none of them thought I'd have the guts to do. I opened my laptop, logged into my Airbnb account, and quietly clicked cancel. The refund processed within seconds. I didn't write a long message. I didn't demand an apology. I didn't beg for an explanation. I sent one line, "Merry Christmas," no punctuation, no emojis, no emotion. Then came the calls, dozens of them. Missed calls stacked on top of each other like panic layered over guilt. One message just said, "Emergency." Another from Dad. "What did you do?" It wasn't rage that filled me. It wasn't even satisfaction. It was clarity. For years I'd been the family sponsor, the one they leaned on, the one who bailed them out, paid their debts, fixed their messes, and for what? So I could be left behind with the lights off and no one noticing. They betrayed me for Christmas cheer. I just returned the favor with a receipt. They always said I was the reliable one, the one who had it together, who didn't cause problems, who just handled things. But what they really meant was he won't say no. For 3 years straight, I was the invisible ATM of the family. Every Airbnb for every holiday trip on me. "We'll Venmo you later," they'd promise, and later never came. Every birthday present for cousins I barely knew, gift cards, toys, sometimes even cash because you're the adult. You understand how hard it is to budget with kids. Every time Emma's car broke down, every time Dad's groceries mysteriously came up short, every time Mom needed a little extra for gas, they called me. Not because I was their son or brother, but because I was their default. They never even tried to hide it. I remember last Christmas sitting at the table when my uncle half laughed, half muttered, "Makes things easier when people forget you." I laughed too. I thought it was a joke, but it wasn't. Looking back, that was the pattern they used, guilt like currency, and I paid in silence. Mom once said, "We lean on you because you're strong." But strength isn't being everyone's safety net. It's knowing when to stop being stretched thin. And I had been stretched for years. I didn't even realize how much until I saw the receipts. Not just financial, but emotional. Netflix, Spotify, Amazon Prime, Uber, my name on everything, their logins, their devices. Emma even used my autofill to buy hiking gear for a trip I wasn't even invited to. And not just little things, hundreds of dollars. They didn't forget me. They expected me. Expected I'd still pay. That I'd still be grateful just to be nearby, orbiting their version of family, like some distant moon. But I wasn't a moon. I was the gravity that kept everything together, quietly, invisibly, until I stopped. They thought silence was consent. That being quiet meant I didn't notice. But I noticed everything. And when I finally canceled that trip, I wasn't taking revenge. I was hitting pause on a system that ran on my exhaustion. Because being dependable shouldn't mean being disposable. And love without respect isn't love. It's just theft in a prettier disguise. The restaurant was beautiful rustic wood beams, warm lighting, the kind of place that made people feel cozy while spending too much. Mountain Hearth Lodge Aspen Room, their Christmas dinner reservation. I got there early, booked my own table under the same last name, because after all the lodge package was in mine. I wore the only suit I owned, the one from a job interview 2 years ago. Laptop in one hand, a small stack of printed documents in the other. At 7:00 p.m., sharp I watched them file in. 4 tables pushed together, 17 people. Emma was already scrolling on her phone. Mom kept glancing at the entrance, nervous. Dad poured wine like he was hosting a fundraiser, and my seat, the one that never existed, sat empty. I let them get comfortable, let the waiter pour water. Then I walked in. The silence hit instantly. Forks froze midair. Chairs creaked. I smiled. "Hey everyone, I heard we were doing Christmas dinner." Emma blinked like she'd seen a ghost. This isn't your reservation." "Actually," I said calmly, "it is. You're sitting under my name." Dad stood, his voice already rising. "You're making a scene?" "No," I said, setting my laptop on the table. "I'm making a point." I opened the screen, clicked the first tab. Airbnb invoice $12,500, my card, refund confirmation. Then Emma's text, "He's really not here." OMG, our plan worked. She opened her mouth, but I raised a hand. Next tab, Amazon orders. Hiking gear, ski boots, new parka, all shipped to her. On my Prime, Netflix, Spotify, Uber, grocery deliveries, all linked to my accounts. Then I turned to my parents. "Funny how your pension covered all those groceries. But this card says otherwise." Dead silence. And then the final piece. I pulled out a printed screenshot, Emma's private Instagram story. "He's finally out. Can't believe it took this long." Emma went pale. Zach, her boyfriend, stood up slowly. "Yeah, I'm done." What she snapped. "You used him. Lied to all of us. For what? Photos and matching flannels." The table fractured like glass, whispering, shifting eyes. Aunt Mary Ann leaned over to Mom. Uncle Leo muttered, "I thought you just didn't want to come." Then I placed one small card in the center of the table. It read, "This dinner was paid for by the one you left behind." I closed the laptop, stood up, and walked out while 17 people sat in stunned, bitter silence, realizing the bill wasn't the only thing they'd have to face. I didn't look back when I left that table, not once. But the fallout. It didn't wait long to find me. By the time I got back to my car, my phone was buzzing again. Messages from Mom, from Dad, from cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. The one that stood out just said, "This is what you wanted, right? To humiliate us." No, what I wanted was to finally be seen. And they'd mistaken that for revenge. That night, Zach messaged me. Short and simple. You were right. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. He told me Emma had been planning her perfect Christmas since October. Her words, not his. No drama, no distractions. Which apparently meant no me. She'd told Mom I'd volunteered to pay. Told others I didn't like being around people anymore. Told Zach I was fragile. Fragile. That word again. The one Dad had used last year when I told him I was burned out. Fragile boys don't last long in real life. Funny how people love to call you sensitive after they've spent years walking over your silence. The next day, my cousin Leo reached out. I thought they invited you, he said. I only came because they said you couldn't make it. Then Aunt Mary Ann chimed in. You were paying for all of this. The illusion cracked wide open, but the final blow came from Dad. He called late that night, his voice low, tired hard. This is exactly why we didn't include you, he said. You always act like a victim, always trying to make people feel guilty. I didn't shout. I didn't defend myself. I just replied, no. I act like someone who's tired of paying for the privilege of being ignored. And then I hung up. For years I thought if I just gave more time money, Grace they'd eventually see me as part of the family. But they never did. Because I wasn't invited out of love. I was used out of convenience. That night I poured a glass of wine, sat by my window, and watched the snow fall like ash. Calm, still, and honest. I wasn't the one who broke the family. I was just the first one to stop pretending it was whole. I didn't plan to go public. At first I just needed a place to breathe, to uncoil all the years of being quiet, of swallowing every slight with a smile. But the silence didn't feel safe anymore. It felt complicit. So on Christmas night I posted a story. Not for everyone, just close friends. A simple photo of the refund confirmation from Airbnb. Captioned, turns out I wasn't as invisible as they thought. Within hours my inbox lit up. Cousin Leo messaged again this time, with apology laced in every word. Man, I had no clue. I honestly thought you just didn't want to come. Others trickled in old friends, former co-workers. One even said, that story. It's not just yours. It's mine too. But it was Zach's message that pushed everything into motion. He texted late nervous, at first, then honest. Emma had told him I volunteered to pay, that I didn't like being around people, that I was fragile. She called it her Christmas rebrand, a new vibe, new structure, no me. She said you ruined the mood, he wrote, said you're used to being left out, that you wouldn't even notice. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The story had already started writing itself. The next day I created a thread, no dramatic intro, just facts. They left for the big family trip. 4 cars, 17 people, one group chat without me. Then the screenshots, the Airbnb booking. Emma's text, he's really not here. OMG, our plan worked. The Amazon receipts, the streaming services, the charges in my name. The dinner table photo, 17 people frozen mid-bite while I stood behind them, truth in hand. By morning it had gone viral, tens of thousands of likes, comments flooding in, people sharing their own stories. My brother did the same. My mom used guilt like oxygen. You didn't cancel Christmas. You reclaimed it. Mom texted that evening, please delete that post. People are calling. We're embarrassed. I didn't reply. Emma messaged too. One line, you ruined everything. I finally answered, no. Emma, I revealed it. And just like that, the internet saw what I had always known, that sometimes it's not silence that heals, it's the truth, spoken, shared, echoed. After the post went viral, the masks started slipping. Publicly, they stayed quiet, but privately, the pressure built fast. Mom begged, let's talk. Don't ruin us like this. Dad said I'd gone too far. Emma sent crying emojis and one line that read, you've always been dramatic. But the truth, I wasn't being dramatic. I was being done. Emma tried to pivot. On Instagram, she posted a black screen with the words, people change when you stop letting them manipulate you. I see clearly now. I laughed. She was trying to rebrand herself as the victim. But the most unexpected messages came from the shadows. 3 younger cousins, the ones who always sat quiet at family dinners, messaged me privately. Each one said some version of the same thing. Thank you for saying what we couldn't. One of them wrote, I thought I was the problem, but I see now. I was just convenient. That hit me harder than the betrayal, because it meant I wasn't alone. And then came the fallout, not from social media, from the law. A firm reached out. Emma had used my personal details, my name, my card information, to apply for a health insurance plan, to get better coverage. Fraud, traceable, actionable, and this time I didn't cover for her. I built a folder, a digital graveyard of every receipt, every email, every time they used me like a resource instead of a relative. I sent it to the proper authorities. I wasn't seeking revenge. I was setting boundaries with consequences. Then I did something radical. I signed the lease on a new place, downtown, 27th floor, south-facing windows, 1 bedroom, no guest couch, no family invites. And I opened a small co-working space, a creative haven for people who'd clawed their way out of toxic dynamics. I named it Not Included. Underneath a small tagline, a space for the ones left off the invite. On opening day, I taped one printout to the front desk. Emma's message: "He's really not here. OMG. Our plan worked, framed under glass." And beneath it one line: "And now I am? Because the people who used me, they weren't family. They were just familiar." And I'd finally learned the difference. Forgiveness is what they wanted. Release is what they got. In early January, a letter showed up at my door. Real envelope law firm, header, formal language. It read like a threat wrapped in polite concern. "Our clients are experiencing reputational damage. We request that you remove all public-facing material and issue a clarifying statement indicating the posts were fictionalized." I didn't panic. I printed it out, highlighted every absurd line in neon yellow, and wrote my reply by hand. "My material is factual, documented, and protected. If you proceed, discovery will include bank records, text archives, voice memos, and eyewitnesses. Also, good luck with the fraud investigation into Emma's insurance claim. That report wasn't even from me. I mailed it back. I never heard from them again." You see, forgiveness implies that there's a relationship left to repair, that underneath the hurt there's still trust. But what I had with them wasn't built on trust. It was built on guilt, debt, obligation, and silence. So, no, I didn't forgive them. I released them. I stopped carrying the version of them I'd made up in my head. The kind, close-knit family I pretended existed behind the excuses. The mother who cared, the father who protected, the sister who valued me. None of them were real. I don't answer unknown numbers now. I don't check old threads or reread old voicemails. I don't wonder if I could have said something differently. Because I said everything right and they still chose to leave without me. Forgiveness is often framed as strength, but sometimes clarity is stronger. I posted one final photo that month, me standing in front of the Not Included sign at my co-working space. No caption. Just a Christmas card slipped into my parents' mailbox. Inside that photo, tucked in, was a Post-it note. "Next time, try paying for your own vacation. No anger, no venom, just truth." And as I stood in my new space surrounded by strangers who understood more than my own blood ever did, I realized something that felt like peace. I don't hate them. I don't wish them harm. I just don't carry them anymore. Because release isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about finally letting yourself go free. On New Year's Eve, I sat alone in my apartment. No noise, no pressure to perform holiday joy. Just me and a glass of wine. Outside, fireworks cracked in the distance. Inside, peace settled like snowfall. For the first time, I wasn't dreading the year ahead. I had no apologies left to give, no explanations to rewrite, no seats to beg for at tables that were never meant for me. And strangely, it didn't feel like loneliness. It felt like relief. I posted one last message, a photo of my window view city lights glowing below, captioned, "This year, I unwrapped the truth." And it was better than anything I ever got under the tree. No likes from family. Only strangers, allies I'd never met, but who understood exactly what it meant to be the one who always paid and never felt seen. I used to think closure meant reunion, that somehow they'd come around and say the words I waited my whole life to hear. But closure doesn't always look like hugs. Sometimes it's a locked door with your name on the lease. They erased me. But I didn't disappear. I became undeniable. So if you're watching this and you've ever been the one left out, the dependable one, the used one, the background presence I want you to know, you don't have to earn peace. You just have to choose it. Subscribe if this story spoke to you. And remember, the price of peace was letting go. And I'd pay it again every single time.